Hello, Magic the Gathering content creators community. My name is Alan, also known as Dragosi MTG on Twitch, and this is my welcome to the content creators program video for Stream Elements. First thing, kind of before I get started, I want to thank Wizards of the Coast for accepting me into the content creators program with Stream Elements. I'm very excited to get going with this and start building my community and helping to build this program as well too, because it is in the beta. I know that this video was supposed to be a discussion piece with my community, kind of talking through some ideas for challenges, talking about the content that I produce and whatnot as well. But kind of to give a little bit of background, my community has been fairly small, and I at times I'm struggling to kind of retain the community. I've been in the creators program, if you will, for a while. I've done the streamer previews since the inception of the streamer preview program for Magic Arena, and I've been a part of basically every streamer event that they've hosted, as well as recently being a featured content creator for them on their old content creators platform. And actually, I think I might have been one of the last on the old platform, or right before they announced the beta for the new one. So, but even through all of that and streaming, fairly somewhat consistently, despite also having a full-time job, I've been able to get affiliate on Twitch, and that community has been great. And some people have come and gone, but a lot of the community that I have right now, and my biggest support honestly, is the friends that I have that I play regularly, play Magic regularly with, and so we talk a lot about Magic in our Discord, and so that's kind of where this video, the discussion points of this video are going to be coming from, is from some of my friends and the regulars within my community. Just a little bit of background about me. I'm a small streamer from Northern Illinois. As my profession, I work in college esports recruiting, so that's kind of a pretty cool gig. I get to work with high school students who are esports athletes and help them find colleges, but that's neither here nor there for this particular video. My Magic experience has been kind of extensive. I've played since 2010, and during Rise of the Eldrazi, that was my first set that I started really playing in a little bit more seriously. And I've worked in various card shops and local game stores in my area, in the Northern Illinois area, for a while, and if on and off. So I've been very well and kind of ingrained in the Magic community in my area, and very more recently in the Magic Arena community. I've been competitive. I've had a competitive nature all my life, starting with music, but now translated into Magic. And so while I was working with local game stores, I played on the Star City game circuit a little bit with some friends who were also working at the game store. And we traveled around and did that competitive scene for a little while, and I tried to play some Grand Prix and whatnot as well too, and I loved it. The travel was prohibitive for me at the time, so I kind of had to stop doing that, but thankfully Arena's given me that outlet. Some things that I love about Magic, so I obviously love to be competitive, playing the best decks. I like to invest in my cards, making sure that I have the ability to kind of play whatever I want to play, whatever the meta dictates, because I understand that the meta can fluctuate and change very drastically, so I try to be as competitive as I can. But on the more casual side of things, I play a lot of Commander with my friends. Pretty much every week we play. And I love RNG and chaos and randomness and cheating on mana costs. And so one of my favorite decks was my Golos deck that basically was cheating things into play, playing top of the library tribal, and also played Field of the Dead and got to do some crazy stuff with that. And my favorite card of all time is Warp World. So I do love Standard. Standard is a great format, and it's kind of cool to see how we can work within a limited scope of Magic and its vastness. But I also love older formats like Legacy and Vintage. I think Vintage might be my favorite constructed format of all time, just because of the crazy and powerful things you can do with the cards that you have available to you. I also love Historic. I love Brawl. Obviously, I love Commander. But I think of my favorite limited formats, Cube, Vintage Cube, Legacy Cube are my favorites. I love Cube drafts. They just kind of bring something a little bit different to the table than kind of your standard set drafts and whatnot. So Cube is my big thing. As far as the challenges that we have right now going on Stream Elements for the creators beta, I like a lot of them. I love that there are some really interesting, but interesting but fairly easy to achieve in-game challenges that we can work with. Whether that be direct challenges with friends or streaming and brewing a deck and playing and winning with that deck with the community. Those are great. I love those. Some things from that perspective I would love to see are challenges that are centered around building decks around certain alternate win conditions, not just beating your opponent in 20 life, whether that be milling them out or there may be some I win the game cards in standard or historic. So stuff centered around that, and obviously having those be slightly time gated so that it doesn't get a little old, but having some of that kind of creativity. One thing that kind of inspires that is something that one of my idols and somebody who I got to meet was Day 9 at PAX East this past year. But when he did his StarCraft 2 content, he used to do a segment every Monday called Fun Day Monday, where he would impose a restriction upon his community. They would have to go and play games of StarCraft 2 with that restriction in place. And so kind of maybe having something similar to that, where you basically have to maybe not making it so open-ended, but having certain challenges that are specifically focused around a card, winning with a card in your deck or something like that. So that's one thing, and I'd love to see that for Standard, for Historic, and for Brawl as well. Eventually, obviously, as well in the future, like I mentioned, Cube is something that I love a ton, and if Cube were ever to be thrown into a competitive ladder setting, I would be doing that every day, but even I assume it will never be. But even still, when Cube comes to Arena, I will be playing that all the time. Pretty much that's going to be a lot of what I do is playing Cube. So I'd love to see Cube-based challenges when that comes around. I love seeing some of the event-specific challenges, like streaming the Purphoros challenge currently going, or that just ended actually. And then obviously the other gods that are going to be coming up in the future as well too. Having some of those are great, and I'd love to see that for Cube. Maybe for Historic Brawl, when that comes back up around. I know there's some events for that coming soon, so that's one thing. And then kind of the last thing that I would say that I would recommend or that I would love to see is seeing some smaller raid host and viewer count challenges. I saw the ones that were on there, and the bare minimum for those for viewer count was 100. Doing, I think, was a raid with 100 members was the smallest one. And then having concurrent viewership. Actually, I think concurrent viewership was the 100 one. But then raids and hosts and stuff like that. Some members of our community have trouble with getting even to those numbers. And while those are great to strive to, I would think even having and focusing on some potentially smaller incremental challenges, and maybe not having the rewards be as great, but incremental challenges kind of to help go along the way, because all honesty, that first little 100, that build to 100 concurrent viewers can be some of the hardest from all the people who I've known and talked to streaming, obviously doing it myself. That block is very difficult. So having challenges kind of baked into that smaller initial segment of a community growing and building, I think would be a really great encouragement for a small streamer such as myself. And I know and a lot of the streamers within our community are in that smaller segment as well too. So that would be great reassuring challenges for them. As well, the other thing too is more realistic challenges from that perspective as well, from the viewership and rating challenges as well, from as far as the community, the content creator program community is going basically. As it stands right now, and this is currently from what I'm looking at 7:00 Central Time on the 25th of February 2020. As far as viewership counts right now, I'm looking at on Twitch at the Magic the Gathering segment of Twitch, and the only person who's above, actually I shouldn't say that, there's a couple people who are above 1,000 viewers on Twitch right now, and those two people are Day 9 and LSV, two big names, incredibly, arguably some of the biggest names in Magic, in esports as a whole. The next biggest one is MTG Goldfish, a major platform for information and deck lists and content as well. and they're around 850 viewers. And then from there, it starts to kind of drop off. Ben Stark, a pro player, getting about 800, and then Savitz getting about 450-ish, and then it kind of drastically declines from there. There's a lot of people kind of sitting in the, actually I should say this, it's going down. There's a bunch of people hovering in the 350 to 400 range, and then it drops off a cliff down to 200 to 78 to 60 to 50 to 40. It drops off very, very quickly. So obviously we'll have the ability to or you guys will have the ability to kind of see how things are going as far as the community and the content that's coming out is concerned. So having challenges that are centered around those are what I think would be beneficial. Obviously, having those big striving goals of rating with 1,500 people or having 1,500 concurrent viewers is a great thing to strive for. But a lot of people right now aren't going to be making that number. So that challenge is going to sit undone and unused. I think it would be beneficial to have more realistic numbers based on what the streaming community and what our content creators program community is doing as far as viewership numbers are concerned. So those are what I had as far as the challenges is concerned. And so I hopefully those are helpful suggestions. My content pretty much going forward is going to be standard, historic when that cycle comes back around for historic anthology or 2 when that comes out, doing Ikoria when that comes around, but that's going to be basically heavily on Magic Arena content. So but thank you guys again. Thank you, Magic Wizards of the Coast and Stream Elements, for accepting me into the program. Like I said, I'm very excited, and we'll see you guys in the arena.